It's the Weekly Wrap with your host, broadcasting legend Bruce Wolf, and his trusty sidekick, comedian Tim Slagle. And now, without further ado, Bruce Wolf.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. And now for my favorite time of the show, when I guess what's in Tim's background. And I'm going to say you got your own little reviewer of the new Snow White movie. It's a continuum from dopey to happy, and it's landed on sleepy. Am I right about that, Tim? I mean,
you're not even in the ballpark.
Not
Bruce.
in the universe. Okay, all right. Give it to me.
It's like your bracket. It's washed up already.
Okay.
I'm here with Joe Biden. I understand that he's preparing for to give another speech.
And nobody showed up, right? For his, but you're with his auto pen, right?
Ta-da!
I see. So what's the latest on that? Is it there's so many legal issues, and I haven't even bothered to explore any of them, like that one supposed renegade judge that everybody wants impeached. I just look at, the people that I trust, what they have to say about it. And certainly not Donald Trump. I mean, he doesn't know anything. But
what are your trusted sources telling you? Because
about which issue? You mean about the
auto pen pardons?
The auto pen pardons. Have no idea. What are they telling you?
That they're not. Well, the president said they're null and void.
Well, the president.
But he's the head of the Department of Justice. I mean,
but I mean, it's a legal matter, and supposedly that's the province of the courts. But of course, Trump is saying that it isn't. I mean, it's the same old. So if Obama had used the auto pen and the phone, would that have been legal or no? I'm not sure. That's another wonderful esoteric question.
He just used the teleprompter, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I guess so. So but
all these mysterious forces working the robotics of the Democrat administrations.
Right. I thought you were going to talk about Biden's latest speech. Apparently, like, nobody was there. It wasn't even covered. He actually did give a speech the other day.
Right,
I heard.
Yeah.
And he's like completely disappeared. But
I don't think there's ever anyone there. There can't be anyone there, because then then people are going to report how much it was edited.
Right. Well, I'm sure that he's going to be able to read a teleprompter, right till his last breath. I think Jimmy Carter probably could have read a teleprompter, right before he left this veil of tears. Okay, well, so like I say, I don't know because it's all I know is when you get these complicated legal issues and there are somewhat reasonable people on both sides. You know me, I don't want to read more than 5 paragraphs on anything, and that that's like 12th or 14th paragraph stuff. So I just don't know who's right on this, but I do know that the draconian responses like impeachment. I mean, it's Trump even admits it. All he wants to do, he loves getting people angry, and hey, and there's a price to pay, of course, because right now nobody's going to buy a Tesla. They're all the Teslas, which is built like a tank. The stock is tanking. Everybody's worried about their insurance. They want to get rid of their cars. Have you been following?
I didn't see anything about the insurance, but I have been seeing that that they're actually becoming affordable. Because you can pick up a Cybertruck now for half price.
Well, and the reason is because people, the rich folks are trying to get rid of their Teslas because before their insurance is canceled, because they're becoming way too high a risk, and the terrorists are winning on this. That's at least the latest I've seen. And I think that Trump, Israel can take care of itself. I think he should turn his attention to the United States and threaten to bomb the hell out of the terrorists who are going to the Tesla plants or Tesla outlets. Because this is ridiculous.
I understand a lot of Tesla owners are transitioning their Tesla.
Well,
They're buying Toyota and Honda badges and putting them on there.
Well, speaking of transitioning, somebody, Tom Hennessy, a guy I know, tweeted something about that the terrorists are winning because he's afraid to buy a Tesla right now. My thought, speaking of transitioning, is how to protect your Tesla? Just stick big decals all over the car saying Bud Light. And and
well, they make those wraps now. Like if you the Cybertruck comes in stainless steel, but if you want another color, you can buy a wrap and you can make it any color you want. There's even one wrap that makes it look like it's all rusted out. So
it's camouflaged. Basically.
Yeah,
it looks like an old car.
Yeah, which is funny because it's obviously a Cybertruck. But there's someone who has a black wrapped one here in my neighborhood, and it looks pretty sharp.
So, do we have that Tyler Pasiak tweet or something? Oh, did you just show that? Is that what you just showed, Chris? Anyway, I was thinking because they have all these protests going on, and the TV stations love these live shots. Yeah, I would, I think Channel 9's Paul Conrad, the Irreverent station, Channel 9. I think Paul Conrad, the weather guy, I think he's kind of conservative. I'm not sure. But wouldn't it be great? He could send a shiver up Larry Potash's scrotum and go out there asking each person what he does for a living. How did he find the time to protest? And we'd like to be Elon's first human mission to Mars. You do your man on the street thing that Jesse Waters used to do. Everybody's used to do that. I used to Stuttering John used to do that. I'm stuttering right now. It just
maybe you and I should do it, Bruce.
Well,
hey, that would be fun. We could get out there and do a live segment.
We could do the whole thing live, just talking to people out there. What do you do for a living? And then they could turn it around and say, well, what are you guys doing for a living? Well, we're not making any dough with this thing. Like you wonder how much this is.
Are you sure they're not making any dough?
Well, that's the thing. You wonder how much this is astroturfed. I'm wondering if Soros is behind this too. So, because people do get paid for these kinds of things. By the way, as you well know, I think I was fired by Channel 32 for keying a car at the auto show years ago. And why did I do it? As Sir Edmund Hillary, I believe, said, because it was there. And I wound up winning.
I don't know if I know that story.
We'll get to it. But in the meantime, since I do have a penchant for keying cars, what if I offered to key liberals' Teslas for them? It would be a little short of self-immolation by them, but it would be a nice gesture of solidarity with the resistance for them. And they take a little bit of damage, just a little bit of damage, but they don't get the whole car destroyed. But it's just the scar, the mark, the scarlet A or whatever, just that they could have, and then they could keep their Teslas. And I'd be willing to do it because I kind of like keying cars.
That would actually be a nice wrap you could put on your Tesla. Is get the vandalized by leftist protesters wrap, so that you could drive it around. It's like, well, okay, they already got that one. We can leave it alone.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll get back to Elon Musk because he's all over the news. Just for a little change of pace, do you have that tweet from Esta about Sharon Stone, Chris? Sharon Stone talking about Trump voters, and she says, all people who voted for Trump are uneducated Americans. And you see a picture of the current Sharon Stone, and all I can say is, I'm not sure I'd like to see her reprise her landmark scene in Basic Instinct. I don't know. I don't know about that, Sharon. You were great, 35 years ago, but I'm not sure about that.
Well, you don't know. I mean, she's got the money to get the nip and tucks everywhere.
Sure. No question about that. Let's see what else we got.
I was watching a show. There's a show on ABC called, well, I wasn't watching it on purpose. It just kind of popped up. Called Mormon Wives, and there was
is that like Big? Remember that, or was it Big?
No, this is actual real Mormon wives. Real Mormon wives. Yeah. And it's like
the
a
real Mormon wives of Salt Lake City. Sure.
Yeah. And they're, one of them got that operation, and she was showing it. She was showing it to her friends.
Really?
Yeah, and it was a big black square, but you could tell what she was showing.
Oh my God.
And her friends going, "Oh my gosh, that's so cute."
Oh, now was this one of the other wives? Was there competition among the wives?
I haven't watched. I haven't watched the show enough to know whether or not they're all one family,
right.
or just the Garden Club.
No, I understand that. Speaking of shows that we watch, so remember last week our big revelation that the girl who was in Landman is also in 1923. It's like
that was two. That was two shows ago.
Oh, was it really? Anyway, it seems like yesterday. I mentioned that to my wife, watches these shows with me, and she was like, "Oh no, that's not possible. It's not the same woman." I said, "Look, I recognize the navel on that woman," and it was. And then we looked it up, and it is. I think her name is Randolph or something like that.
Yeah, Michelle Randolph.
Oh, yeah. Okay, there we go.
And if you Google Michelle Randolph bikini, you can see that it is the most unique navel in Hollywood. It looks like a sea creature.
Really? I mean, is it amphibious? I mean, is it?
It looks like it takes in seawater and then eats the plankton and then expels the seawater and waste.
Really? So it's a phenomenal organism.
Or you could put a glass eye in there and it would look really creepy. It's the most, like I said, it's the most unique navel I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta do a close up on that, Chris.
I got that. Well, stay tuned to more episodes of 1923.
See, look at that thing.
Oh,
look at that.
Right.
Look at
it looks like it actually could devour you itself. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Okay, where are we right now? All right, yeah, let's talk about Deerfield, my latter-day hometown.
Sure.
Our dear old friend Dan Propp and Amy Jacobson broke the story on WIND about the girl at the Shepherd grade school who was forced to undress in front of someone who purports to be a budding female, but is actually a boy. Did Deerfield school administrators Joanna Ford, Kathy Van Treese, and Ginger Lugeman violate sexual exploitation laws by forcing teen girls at Shepherd Middle School to change in front of a boy? I
gotta say, this has got to be the most clever boy in Deerfield. He has figured out a way to get his teachers to force girls to undress in front of him. That's
so my problem with this stuff, and I saw it. Did you see there was footage of yet another race on a track where a boy defeated the rest of the girls by like 1,000 yards in the 100-yard sprint. I don't even question the people with dysphoria. Okay, I understand them. But I question the rest of the community that allows it. I mean, now I used to we were the Wandering Jews of Deerfield. I think I told you that. We lived in like 5 different places over a 20-year period there. But why are people countenancing this stuff? I mean, that's Shepherd Middle School. My kids didn't go there, but I remember one of my daughters playing in a concert at that school. Why? Where's the protest? I thought I read, correct me if I'm wrong, that the protesters were saying, well, if the girl has a problem, the real girl has a problem undressing, maybe there can be some accommodation given. No, whoa, wait a minute. No, in my country, we accommodate you, not you accommodate us. And here's the thing. The big argument in favor of trans is that there really aren't many of them, but it sure sounds like they're trying to make it seem like there are a lot of them. If they're saying, "Oh no, we're going to accommodate," you remember the Twilight Zone episode in the eye of the beholder. Where
there was a woman was hideously ugly, and you never saw her face till the end. Is that the one?
Yeah,
And
only she's beautiful, and everybody else in the universe is
right.
looks as a pig snout.
Right.
And so, I mean, we're through the looking glass on this one. I actually don't understand the community. And as far as I'm concerned, I believe in home rule, whatever. I mean, if Deerfield has gone nuts, I mean, that's fine. So meanwhile, let's go back here. So Dan Proft had a tweet in which he had a nice alliteration with the letter M, and it's all about how apparently some of these suburbs. He goes, "What timing? The mindless, maladjusted Marxists of DuPage, say that 10 times real fast, picked the perfect day for their arts and crafts event at a local Tesla dealership." And he's talking about, I don't know if it was in that tweet or somebody somewhere else, about how some of these suburbs like Hinsdale and Deerfield and Western Springs have been taken over by angry white aged feminists. Okay. And so I mean, maybe that, that's your constituency. Maybe they don't even have kids in school anymore. Some of these people, so they don't even have to face that. And
so aged white feminists, that would be like the First Wives Club, right?
I guess so. Anyway, I really wanted to just transition, as it were, because I like that alliteration with the letter M. So, but that's only for Twitter. So when I was on Channel 5, it's the morning show there. I jokingly suggested, excuse me, to the executive producer of the morning news on Channel 5 once. You remember the Virginia Tech shooting in 2007, where this kid was like the first thing where he used like multimedia for it. All the networks were using alliterations like multimedia, mass murder. And because, of course, there's nothing so wonderful as trying to come up with a tongue twister or a cute phrase to describe the horrors of a mass shooting. I mean, no, it's kind of like in bad taste to do that, but no, it rolls off the tongue so nicely. So anyway, I think
a lot of the networks though already have mass shooting logos and
and they've got now AI, you can come up with the alliterations real easily. But so I gave the executive producer, as a joke, all right, I suggested, how about multimedia mass murder mayhem, many maimed, or something like that, because, to spoof, and it was just a joke. The executive producer actually handed that tease to Dick Johnson, the news anchor, who actually read that as a tease going right into the Today Show. And wouldn't you know it, he pulled it off. He didn't. But I'm sitting there thinking, wait a minute, this is a joke. This is a spoof. This is a joke. And we actually did it, and nobody ever said anything.
There was a Mary Tyler Moore episode very similar to that. It's really? Where Mary and Rhoda were up late doing the advance obituaries, and okay. And there was one local Minneapolis resident named Wee Willie Winky, and the two of them just made up a comic obituary that he was like 102, and his hobbies included breathing, getting out of bed, and
it didn't get on the air, did it?
Well, he got in trouble because they went to bed like real late, came in late, and Wee Willie Winky had died in the night. And Ted just pulled the obituary.
Ted had read that. Well, so
it's exactly your story.
Okay, but here's the thing: Art isn't as good as Art Norman in real life, because on Channel 5 once, really funny moment. I wasn't there when it happened. Art Norman, the news anchor, great guy. I loved him. Wonderful laugh. He hears in his earpiece, something like that, "Kill Mother Teresa." So, but that's like lingo for the story that we have about Mother Teresa is not running. He thought she was dead. And he goes, "I'm sorry to report, we've just received word that Mother Teresa has died." he had.
Wow.
Now, granted, Mother Teresa, she did become a saint. I mean, maybe that was one of the miracles. She was resurrected. I don't know. But
that's almost like Biden saying, "Take a pause and breathe here," reading it off the teleprompter.
I mean, you could understand. Somebody whispered, Mother Teresa killed. Okay, we have to report that she's gone now. But no, so I mean, yes, weird things happen. I did not hear the Willie Winky story. I wonder how I missed that. I mean, I did see Chuckles the Clown's funeral, but I didn't see the obit.
Everyone saw Chuckles. That was based on a Second City skit. Did you know that?
Oh, I did not know Chuckles was.
Yeah, there was actually. I think it actually went to court
because really?
Second City Forever has been doing that skit about a funeral where a guy got his head caught in a number 10 can of baked beans. And people are trying not to laugh at the funeral. And one of the writers from Second City actually got a job with Mary Tyler Moore. Pitched the Second City copyrighted skit, and
that's like let's go back from Mary Tyler Moore to the Dick Van Dyke Show, where Richie pitched a sketch to Rob, who was really having a hard time that week thinking of something, and it was something about like a human bowling pin, and they did the bowling pin thing, and it turned out that there was a local clown who was doing that, and Alan Brady had to threaten the local clown by making up the fact that he had done that in vaudeville or something like that. The clown had stolen it from him, when it actually was Rob had taken it from Richie, who stole it from the clown. So yeah.
Have we talked about who Richie was based on?
I forgot. I was just thinking about that the other day, and I forgot. First of all, I forgot who was he based on?
Well, Carl Reiner based the show on his life.
Right.
And so he wrote this little bratty, annoying kid. Yeah.
Oh my God. Wouldn't the Dick Van Dyke Show have, as great as it was, would have been much better with this little balding kid with a mustache with an attitude, better than Richie, who was so cute.
I got a funny idea, Daddy.
Yeah, no, but more, a liberal in training, a radical ne'er-do-well in training. The great thing about Rob Reiner is that not only did he play that meathead on All in the Family, but he's a meathead in real life too.
Sure.
That guy was so into the Trump conspiracy stuff, and then having lost all that, when Trump finally wins again, Rob Reiner says, "Okay, I give up. I can't go on Twitter anymore. Uncle, I lose." So, yeah, no.
It actually you could see the liberal beginnings, because Richie all the time when Rob would come home would be like, "Hi, Daddy, did you bring me anything?"
Yeah. Stifle yourself. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. So, big controversy this week. I mean, forget about what the Fed has to say, and whether tariffs are causing inflation, and whether judges have exceeded their authority and all that legal mumbo jumbo. The big question this week is whether Tim Walz is the ideal masculine role model, which I thought that had been put to rest by the election, but apparently he's been resurrected. And we have this Greg Price tweet here. I think Tim Walz was saying that, if I'm not mistaken, that he knows how to fix a truck, and that puts him over, certainly puts him over me. I was thinking, do we have it right here? Tampon Tim, according to Greg Price, says he scares conservative men with his masculinity. Quote, "I think I scared them a little bit. I can fix a truck. They know I'm not BSing," end quote. Now, here's the thing. It's got to be an awfully simple truck. Somebody said to me it must be a Tonka truck. I mean, trucks.
Or a hand truck.
Yeah. This is no slight against him. Do you know how complicated cars are nowadays? I mean, compared to when You can't. I remember fixing a tire in the snow years ago, or changing the oil. You don't want going under the hood of one of those things anymore. It's way too complicated. You may as well be performing robotic surgery. So yeah, it's no
Well,
slight to
it
Tim.
depends on what he means by fix a truck.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, it could be the same way that you would fix a dog. You know, so
Right.
the way you fix a truck, you paint a swastika on it, stick a
Oh,
knife in the tires, and then
I see. I thought you were going to say it was like a dog. You take off the catalytic converter or something. But all right. So here's a problem. When he talks like this, we talk about toxic masculinity, which is probably the big problem that conservative males exhibit, according to the Democratic Party. Isn't it toxic for him to talk this way about fixing trucks? I mean, he makes it sound like that's a masculine thing to do. What if Angel Reese of the Chicago Sky could it's possible she can fix a truck. I mean, she certainly can't make a layup. That has been documented. But maybe she could fix a truck. So anyway,
I don't know why, but I just get this picture of Doug Emhoff and Tim Walz opening a bottle of white wine, watching The Notebook, and having a good cry together.
I got to confess, I'm a little bit leery about opening bottles of wine. I don't know how to stick the corkscrew in exactly. So I'm not even that masculine.
Well,
I don't even rise to the
the
level
good
of
wines
femininity.
the good wines actually have screw caps on. Did you know?
Sure.
No,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
because the corks are the cheap wine.
Yeah.
Did you hear what JD Vance said about Kamala?
No.
He was asked, "What's the difference between your vice presidency and hers?" And he says, "Well, I don't start the morning with 4 shots of vodka."
Oh man. Does he tweet this stuff? Because he's like a tweeting. I mean, he's like outstripping Trump. Vance has got to watch out because Twitter is Trump's turf, and and Vance has been tweeting it. You don't want to.
Well,
Just
he's
like
running.
just
He's already got his 2028 campaign going.
yeah, obviously that. So Greg Gutfeld ripped at I forgot his name. I was going to say Tim Kaine. They're the same. They're fungible. Those white male dweebs who run for
Probably the
vice
funniest
president.
SNL skit
Yeah,
this century.
yeah. It was just a few months ago where nobody could remember who Tim Kaine was. So anyway, Gutfeld. Do we have that one, Chris? Or I was trying to give you a little lead into it, but all right. So he says the definition of envy. This was Tim Wells. Oh, he was talking about if you need a little boost during the day, check out the Tesla stock. I mean, yeah. And Gutfeld says the definition of envy is a man saves 2 astronauts, another lesser man tries to destroy that man's company. Do you need any more proof that the Democrat Party is no longer a party of men? Yeah, I mean, the whole thing about, yeah. And of course, a lot of people have 401ks. They invest, we're all kind of invested.
Interestingly, they just found out that
Yeah.
the Minnesota Teachers Association
Oh,
pension
nice.
fund has over 1 million shares of Tesla.
Oops. Oopsie. So Gutfeld, and when Gutfeld says that stuff, it's all true, and he's funny. But also true is the irony that Gutfeld has strategically tucked his testicles. Oh man, tucked his testicles back into his abdomen during the Trump years. Now, that's what I get. Okay, then there's this call to activism tweet that about what Jesse Waters was saying, and Jesse Waters is talking about what real men do, because I think we're trying to get a definition of what we do. I mean, we certainly don't auto pen our signature on an executive action. We sign it ourselves. But it's call to act. Do we have the call to activism tweet, Chris?
Mark Kelly actually sold his Tesla and bought a truck. That was Senator Mark
There we
Kelly.
go.
That was
That
was a big deal.
So the call to
He bought a Tahoe. He was bragging
nice.
about.
Very nice.
So it's so there was, yeah.
I'm sorry that I'm trying to get these tweets to come up a little faster in 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
I thought this was kind of a fun thing.
We could take this out. We could take this out in post.
I guess so. As we try to post this tweet. Okay, and we're looking at a circle going around. Okay, call to act. Jesse Waters listed his rules for men. Don't eat soup in public. You don't cross your legs. You don't drink from a straw. You shouldn't be drinking a milkshake. Milkshakes are for kids. Now, here's what I have to say to that. See, I thought men do things, not talk about doing things, which is what Jesse Waters does. Of course, I'm talking about him talking, but that's meta, which is manly. Now, speaking of milkshakes, can we move right ahead? Did you see what the Chicago White Sox have done?
Well, I want to go back here for a second as far as men don't drink milkshakes until they're very old, and then they have to drink milkshakes.
Oh, of course you do. Yeah,
but
and maybe that's the average age of a Chicago White Sox fan, because they got to be people who remember the good old days and don't realize what's going on right now. The White Sox unveiled their latest thing. They don't have a team. Okay, they're basically a quadruple A team masquerading as a major league team, but they've got good food. So there was they unveiled their Major League Baseball had a tweet about the new milkshake to the White Sox. They had this big chocolate one last year. Now they've got the celebration cake shake, and you can take a look at that. If you're watching, I mean, it looks really, really good. It's gigantic. It's got sprinkles. It's got cherry. It's got whipped cream. It's just tremendous. Probably about 5,000 calories. And so my
milkshake will bring all the boys to the park.
Yeah, well, my question is, which is better, the Bears leading the NFL in the offseason or the White Sox leading the majors in dairy products? Then there was a Chicago White Sox tweet, okay, which showed their other food offerings. This is what they were, talk about bread and circuses. All right, let them eat cake or cake shakes. So there was a Chicago White Sox tweet, not about who's on their team, are they bringing Minnie Minoso back or whatever. They've got a tweet about all the different food offerings they have, and admittedly, they're far superior to what Wrigley Field has to offer if you're comparing the two there. But the White Sox have
which is kind of weird. You think the North Side team would have more?
The White Sox have always been better, than the Cubs.
Cubs have improved recently. They got like a hot dogs there and stuff now.
Yeah, but not very good. Okay, so you see the White Sox. There's a box here on the Twitter with 4 different offerings. I mean, it's gigantic. It looks like these gigantic fried chicken sandwiches and these gigantic BLTs or Reubens, and it's so much for one person to get. And I was thinking that if you ordered any of this stuff, at least you could put your food in the seats on either side of you when you're at the game. Because there ain't gonna be anybody there. No,
is the brand? Did I see that it's Lucky's? Is that what it's called?
I don't know.
Lucky's Korean hot dogs.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's like the corn dog with the stuff on it. That's a Korean dog.
Yeah, the
Korean dog
only luck in the park,
isn't it?
Only luck in the park last year.
Oh, okay. So,
you think the Cubs? You think they would have like shrimp cocktails and pate? I mean,
no. I mean, in the area surrounding Wrigley Field, you got all the bars and you got great places, but the food traditionally, they're still going into the bathrooms are still troughs. Okay, I mean, they don't want to. They blend the old with the new. They got the old scoreboard, they got the new, but they really haven't come into the 21st century as far as food goes. All right, we gotta switch, and we'll have this bleed over maybe into the next segment as well. But JFK, the files were released, and I saw a tweet.
I'm still only on page 1,000. I got 79 more.
All right, I saw a tweet which showed, and I thought it was a joke because it showed Candace Owens saying the Jews did it. And I was thinking, that's pretty funny. But then there really is this thing going on that apparently Bruce's Jews News, that the Ian Carroll has one. I mean, I thought it was a funny meme, but these guys are, saying, oh no, definitely this Ian Carroll, you can see that it's part of the Jewish conspiracy. See, I thought when we asked who killed the Kennedys, it was Mick Jagger and me. So there's only one Jew, just me, but it was Mick as well. It's amazing how it. I mean, I thought it was a joke, but no, they actually did manage to mention.
Yeah, I guess they didn't want him to have Kennedy didn't want them to have a nuke.
I'm glad you answered the question for me. All right. Well, we'll delve into this a little bit more because Brett Favre had an opinion on it as well. Bruce Wolf and Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Continuing with, what page are we on the JFK files right now?
1001. I got another page read during the break there.
So Brett Favre tweeted, and of course, you know how gullible I am. I actually checked to see, is this the actual Brett Favre? But it is. This is blue check mark, and it is Brett Favre. He says, I guess one thing we can all agree on is that Oswald didn't act alone. I'm just thinking, now, Brett, is it possible that you're just seeing double after all those hits? So there's somebody else other than, and yeah, I noticed that Brett was a little slow on the uptake since his acting debut in There's Something About Mary, and he was hit a lot of times. I'm not really sure about this. Of course I was waiting for Ted Cruz to comment.
Was it Something About Mary or Meet the Parents?
No, he was in Something About Mary. Oh yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, that
the
much
date Mary.
Now, as far as the Jewish conspiracy, I think I've told you about this before. I'm pretty sure that my grandfather was part of the conspiracy. Not Ted Cruz's father, but my grandfather. Follow me here real quickly. So I remember November 24th, 1963. I was at my father's hardware store on 16th and Springfield on the west side of Chicago, okay? It's 2 days after the assassination. We got a little TV propped up, little one aisle hardware store, and he says, Oswald's going to get it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And who kills Oswald? A west side of Chicago Jew named Jack Ruby. Okay. Mm-hmm. Jack Ruby had a lot of connections.
Who just happened to be in Texas?
Well, he had moved to Texas. Okay. Jack Ruby had a lot of connections. My grandfather, in the old days, and I hope I can use this term because this is what the guy in politics who got you a job, a patronage job, was called, there was an ethnic term for it. I mean, it was called your Chinaman. Okay. That was the term in Chicago politics. And he wasn't that actual ethnic persuasion. Are you still there, Tim? Have you walked out? Because
no, I'm still here. It's just I realized that my computer isn't plugged in.
Worried about Jews and Chinamen being said. Tim's like,
anyway,
I'm out of here. Anyway,
so my grandfather, his sponsor was a guy named Bernie Nystine of the 29th Ward. All those guys, thick as thieves, that's how we are. I think there's the connection. And so I'm surprised. I think when you get to when you get to page 1200, you're probably going to see my grandfather's name mentioned there. I'm just saying it's just.
Are these files digitized? Can you search them digitally?
Yes.
Really?
Oh. Well, there you go. It's good. Can you do it, Chris, while we're see if Bruce's grandfather's name is in there?
You can put keywords in as well.
Yeah. Flip over to page. Yeah.
Oh, that might be interesting.
Didn't he also help when MLK was on the west side?
See, you must have been reading some book. Oh, unless I said it. Yeah. No, my father's hardware store was on 16th and Springfield. Martin Luther King bought a building, like I think on 15th and Avers, which is like kitty corner. And it wasn't like Martin Luther King came into my father's hardware store and said, I would like a plunger, please. No, he didn't do that himself. But his janitor did come in. And so my father, would talk to Martin Luther King's janitor. And,
so he was a cleaner.
I have a Dremel.
Yeah.
You helped them clean up situations.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go. Hey, we got to get serious just for a second here. As we speak, the Illinois State Legislature, in its infinite wisdom, is deciding to regulate whether to regulate homeschooling. And God bless it, I hope that they do, because you know how many kids who were homeschooled during the epidemic or pandemic were not wearing masks in their homes, and they should be wearing masks, and the state should regulate them. And it's about time that happened. And I hope the angry white feminist women of Hinsdale and Deerfield are parading right now and making sure that happens. So.
Well, at first when I heard this, it sounded like overreach, but it's based on whether the homeschooled kids want to participate in school district sports,
right?
Which they're allowed to do even if they don't go to school.
Okay.
So there is kind of, if you make kids be vaccinated because they're going to be in contact with other kids.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't seem like quite the overreach that it should be. But
Tim, that's what have you just gone like liberal white feminist old lady right now on me? Has it?
No, you know I'm just saying there is some logic behind behind
is that the limit?
It's not as no, you can't come out of your bedroom and study until you're vaccinated. It's because if you want to participate in sports.
So it's nothing like Howard Zinn, social studies books have to be read in the home so that you pass the Constitution test. It's strictly that. It's limited to that. It's reasonable.
That's what I heard. I could be wrong.
Tim Weigarten over here.
Yeah, totally. I mean, why don't we just Chris, we thought we were getting to abolish the Department of Education. What do they have to worry about when they got liberals like Tim Slagle?
Supposed libertarian Tim Slagle.
Oh yeah, he's nanny stating us. It's unfreaking believable.
Well, the schools, if the schools have that right, if the state grants the schools that right, who am I to say? You have the ability to move out of the state if you don't like it, which I encourage everyone in Illinois to do.
I understand that. All right, can we turn? We're in the last segment, right? I have so much fun that
this
I
is
can't.
The fun D block where we talk about the homeschooling.
Yeah. All right. So, you know who Dan Bernstein is? You have no idea. I've talked about him before. Okay. I mean, he's kind of like, as much as I hate Don Lemon, I can't stand Dan Bernstein even more. Okay. So that's how bad it is. He's the sports radio station in Chicago. I call it 670, the Skoros, because George Soros
owns it,
bought it, and he wants it to be progressive. And they were already progressive. I mean, they're woke. So Dan
all vaccinated.
So Dan Bernstein, I've known him for a long time. I haven't talked to him in a lot of years. He got himself suspended this week because he was fishing last week. Okay. And he caught a fish, took a picture of himself with the fish. More Bruce's Jews news. Okay. And you know how Jews turn on each other too.
Sure.
So did
the fish have scales?
I believe so. It was pregnant. He took a picture, and some guy on Twitter was challenging him and saying he's bad for conservation. And Dan said, "No, I threw the fish back in. I believe in conservation." And it would have ended there, but somehow it escalated, and Dan actually threatened to dox his children. Children. He was good. You want to get your kids involved in it or something to that effect? Pretty close. And he got himself suspended, and he's, had some run-ins lately. I mean, with other people, and, just for the halibut, I thought of a thought experiment on the appropriate punishment for Dan. It would be draconian to fire him. I mean, Dan not doing sports talk would be like a fish out of water. So he did kind of sort of threaten the guy's kids. Now, if Dan had a daughter, maybe Trump could deport him back to Dan's hometown of Deerfield, Illinois, where she would have to undress in front of boys at school. I mean, holy mackerel. I mean, that's a dumb idea. What's the manta with me? But anyway, it's neat how people implode. I mean, some guys lose their sports jobs by keying a car at the auto show. Some guys threaten to dox other people. Who knows? Mark Giangreco
was he going to dox them or just catfish them?
Hey.
All right. So speaking of the score, I got to quickly talk about. So the Cubs had their opener, 2 games in Tokyo, and I saw a tweet from Mitch Rosen, the program director. Oh, hey, first game of the season, we got Pat and Ron doing the game from Wrigley Field. Well, the game was in Tokyo. They're sitting in the press box in the dark, okay, from Wrigley Field. That kind of lends it some faux authenticity. And
Bruce, can I ask you a question on this?
Yeah, right.
The broadcast teams travel on the plane of the team's plane. Why did they not go? They were in Arizona. I saw him doing a game in Arizona, or thought he did a game in Arizona. Why were they not on the plane? Mr. Sports, Bruce Wolf.
Great question. Now see this tweet? Those of you scoring at home. Pat Hughes is actually looking. It's so dark outside at Wrigley Field. When he looks through the window of his seat in the press box there in the radio booth, he actually sees himself. He has to have a good look at himself and see what his career has come down to. Because I mean, it's almost masturbatory what they're doing. They're announcing. So
it was the game was at like 3 a.m. our time, right?
It was 5 a.m. Let's not exaggerate, but it was. I mean, and then I would have done play-by-play as if I were in the booth. It's where I actually was, and at some point he could have said, "It's pitch black from left to right on your radio dial, and from right to left as well." Wow, there's some cosmic mystery there, right, Ron Coomer? Oh, I see Dawn's rosy fingers tapping the empty right field bleachers now, and the ghost of Gabby Hartnett has just hit one there. And this surreal moment that'll make you crap your pants is brought to you by North Shore Adult Diapers. See, that's the kind of play-by-play, what he was actually seeing that I'd like to see there. Tim Slagle, what are you doing? What's your next gig?
There's a new book coming out about a club that I go to every year, Acme Comedy Company. It's the history of Acme Comedy Company. It's called Home Club, and I am chapter 6. Chapter 6 is entirely about me. So
I can't wait, and make it mandatory for homeschoolers in the state of Illinois. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
And that's the Weekly Wrap on radio and television. Follow Bruce at Bruce Wolf Shy on Twitter and Tim at timslagle.com. The Weekly Wrap with Bruce Wolf, a CP Pods production.